If every spoke is not operational or working, and that wellness wheel, something's going to be off there.
Whoa. Say that one more time for the people in the back, bro. My suggestion is you should put that on your merch, man. I think it is hilarious.
The interesting thing about Fat Kid Loves Cake.
All right, welcome to the show. I am here with Chris Howard, owner of C. Howard Fitness, personal trainer and health coach, founder of a nonprofit, and published author. Brother got a master's degree in exercise science and health promotion. Chris, welcome.
My man, Derek.
Good to be here with you.
It's excellent to be here with you.
Okay. So you wrote a book. Some kind of book you wrote. I'm kidding. I wrote it. I read it. It was excellent. What I can tell you it did for me was a couple different things. One, it confirmed some things that I already thought, and two, refuted some things that I thought I knew. So I learned something. So it was a win-win for me.
Good.
You did a heck of a job on it. Some of them long words in there. I had to pull out a dictionary, but that is okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
Because I had to look it up. All right. So where'd you want to start? We want to start with the book, your business, or your nonprofit?
Let's start with, let's go to the business.
Let's go to the business. Okay. C. Howard Fitness. Why did you start this?
I started C. Howard Fitness really at the end of completing my undergraduate degree at the University of Pittsburgh. I had to do a 300-hour internship, and part of that internship, I had to do some training of clients of various levels and special populations. And it got me to thinking about, hey, I can really do this and start my own business. So what happened at the Jewish Community Center in Squirrel Hill, that's where I did my internship. There was a departing gentleman that was leaving to finish his doctor of physical therapy. Well, he was a mentor of mine, and he felt comfortable enough to give me all of his clients that he was currently working with to take on as my clients. And I said, you know what, this is a budding idea here. I can, start my own business.
Right. And
with the help of the JCC and all of the clients that I took from that particular gentleman, I started C. Howard Fitness.
Okay. Okay, that's good to hear. So why do you keep this going?
I keep it going, for the love of it, but I've established so many great relationships with my clients. So it's more than just, a client trainer kind of situation going on. We talk business and family and vacations and all things that has to deal with the person outside of just working out. So I've developed these long 10, 15-year relationships with clients.
Okay, so you making a difference in addition to $1.
Right, exactly.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
I like how you word that. That's put together real well. Yep.
Right, brother. Sometimes it ain't about the dollar you make. It's about the difference you make. And it sounds like you are making a difference. And I can tell you this, just from briefly talking with some of your clients, you have made a huge difference. And that's just the ones that I've talked with.
All right. Yeah.
A huge difference in their life, how they feel about themselves, how they're looking at the world. That brings me to this one. Do you have a time whenever a client seemed like their condition was just beyond hope and you brought them back from that?
Well, I'm always the type of person that is a glass always half full. And so part of my uplifting is always seeing the positive.
Right.
So I've never come across, as of yet, somebody who's just totally negative about their situation. Because if nothing else, if our paths cross, I know that it was meant for you to come and see me, and so I will look at the positive. Like, for instance, I teach a group exercise class for the Kingsley Association, and there's a lot of older adults, as you have seen in that class, and a lot of them have different injuries or conditions, and a lot of them, quite frankly, are 80 and older. And sometimes they don't feel like working out, but I always try to encourage them to say, you know what, everything that you did just to get here was helpful. You had to get up in the morning, you had to get yourself dressed. So you're completing all of these, what we call in the business, activities of daily living. And
that's what it's called?
Mm-hmm. So it's just a win that you made it here to the Kingsley Association, whether you had to get a ride, you caught the bus, or you drove yourself here. And it's interesting that we're even having this particular part of the conversation. My class went a little long today, and a young lady's ride had come to pick her up. My class is normally over at 12:15. We got a little long-winded today. It was almost 12:30, and the front desk personnel came and said, "Miss Johnson, your ride is here." And I know that Miss Johnson is 92 years old.
Right.
And so whatever she had to do to get here, she got here to make sure that she did the class. And so it's so heartwarming. So that's another reason why I keep it going, to see, I'm 56, and to see somebody who's almost 40 years older than me doing whatever they need to do to get to this class. I'm going to do this until I can't do it anymore.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're going to keep making a difference. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. All your training, right? I see you have a master's degree in exercise science and health promotion. Are you also a registered dietitian?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But I've read your book, and I'm like, whoa, brother know what he's talking about with some food. Okay. I was just kind of curious about that. You can still give people some excellent nutritional advice.
My master's degree and undergraduate degree, you have to be very careful of the scope of practice of what you can do with your clients. So even though I am not a registered dietitian, I didn't go through the dietetics program, I can, tell all of my clients and anybody who was listening the composition of food, healthy stuff, a composition. You should try to get 40 to 60% of your calories from the carbohydrates. I can give you guidance.
General guidelines.
I can't just come and say, Derek, you should eat 2,000 calories a day, and it should be this much, this much, this much. That is kind of on the edge of my scope of practice.
Okay.
But I have read, in my estimation, well beyond the master's level of, how to eat. And so
right.
So that's why in my book, I actually, give you some advice.
Okay.
I can't put an RD beside my name and say I'm a registered dietitian. That would be beyond my scope of practice.
Okay, so you stay in your lane.
I stay in my lane.
All right. Smart man. Speaking of trainers, what should somebody look for in a trainer? Because a lot of people don't know. They want to get in shape, which I'd like to remind everybody, round is a shape. But anyway, what should you look for in a trainer?
I'll back it up and say I used to go, before I even started my business, I would go to different facilities and pretend that I didn't know anything about personal training, and I would buy a session or two off of trainers. There's a fallacy, or there's people out there may not look for the right information or the right type of trainer, and they may just look and say, okay, well, that person looks good in what they're dressed in, whether that's male or female, and I'm just going to watch what they do, and I'm going to go with that person. That may work or they may not work, but the first thing that you should definitely look for in a trainer is that, A, they have a certification from a reputable certifying agency, and there's many of those that are out there. There's many that are basically not worth the paper that they're written on.
Right, a diploma mill.
Yeah, and so something from the American College of Sports Medicine, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, NASM, ACE, the American Council on Exercise, and there's several other ones. You should look for someone who is certified, and then that certification, they have to get continuing education credits.
Okay.
So if you are working or you're looking for a trainer and they have a certification where they don't have to get continuing education credits, I may steer clear from that type of trainer.
They should have some kind of paper with them. And
Correct.
You want to look for one of these major.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But also you want to look for something where they have to stay up to date on the latest things that are going on. It's almost like doctors and physicians, they have to get continuing education credits.
Right.
Just like lawyers, they have to get continuing education credits
to
maintain
make sure you're not
law
teaching.
Degree and everything.
Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So what kind of questions should I be asking a trainer?
That's a good question. One of the things that I would like, or a person that's looking for a trainer should look, is their etiquette. Their interpersonal skills, because You may be able to get someone that's going to take you through a training session or maybe a 6-session package, but are you compatible? Does this person always looking at their phone while they're trying to train you? So it's really that interpersonal skills that you're looking for with the trainer. So one, it would be make sure that they're certified. 2, look at their interpersonal skills. So maybe have a session or 2 with them,
right,
and see how you vibe with them. What else was the other part of the question? Is there another part?
Some of the questions to ask a trainer. Like, let's just say I'm a complete novice, completely uninitiated, and right away, my first thought, I want to lose some weight. I go to a trainer. They should be asking me the questions, right? What are your goals? Well, I don't know. I know that I want to lose weight.
Well, one of the first things, if I was going to look for a trainer, and I would steer clear of them if they didn't do this, and this isn't a question to the trainer, it's almost a test without a test. Are they taking you through a health and fitness assessment? They should be asking you minimum questions. Obviously, your age, any pre-existing conditions you may have. They should take you through minimum what we call a PAR-Q. There's a PAR-Q that they ask minimum questions that get your health status and what's going on with you. I would steer clear from any trainer that if you went and said, hey, I need to lose weight and let's start training, and they jumped you right into training without doing an assessment,
right,
I would steer clear immediately. So that's not even a question to that trainer, but I would steer clear if they didn't have a protocol to ask me what's going on with me.
So maybe it would have been better for me to ask, what should they look for? More of that.
Yep.
So these are things, does the trainer give you a health assessment?
That's number one.
Number one. And they got to be nice. You know what I mean? Be professional. That's kind of a given, but unfortunately, it's not a given.
Correct.
You would think that that's where we start at, but some, at any rate. So they should be conducting a health assessment on me.
Right off the bat.
And asking me, what exactly do I want to accomplish? What do I want to get out of this training?
Besides your basic demographic information, your name, age, date of birth, they should be asking you, are you on any kind of medications? Any recent injuries? Who is your PCP? Any prescribing medicines? And then they, on the back end, when you're a trainer, you should be concerned with, okay, is Derek on a medication that's affecting his heart rate? So if we get to working out, and let's say you're on a medication that doesn't allow your heart rate to speed up, then
right,
I'm going to be doing a talk test. I'm going to be talking to you while we're working out, and you might not be able to hold a conversation with me because the medicine that's keeping your heart rate down. So let's say we were monitoring your heart rate,
right,
and it's still at, let's say, 85, but I'm looking over there and you're huffing and puffing and you can't keep up. Me as a trainer should know that I need to lower that level. Exactly. Okay. So again, medium stuff, the minimal stuff, they need to do a health risk assessment right off the bat. And if they don't do that, then I would steer clear from them.
Run in the other direction.
Yep.
Or just move as fast as you can if you can't run.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to just preface this a little bit, step ahead a little bit. In your book, Numbers, part of the book was called Numbers, and you mentioned body composition. My understanding is that, for example, my weight, I weigh about 185 at whatever percent body fat I'm at. We'll just say 20. I would look a lot different at 185 and say 15 or 12% body fat.
Correct. You would look leaner, right?
Right. So would I be smaller or bigger? Same weight, lower body fat percentage.
Okay. It's a couple ways that attack that. So if you had less body fat, you would actually look smaller and leaner.
Even though I weigh the same.
Even though you weigh the same. And I always like to tell people, what weighs more, fat or muscle?
Oh, that's a big myth, man. I hear that all the time. Fat weighs or muscle weighs more than fat. It does not. An ounce of muscle weighs as much as an ounce of fat. Exactly. But it's a lot denser, so it's going to be smaller.
Exactly.
So two people with the same body weight, because their composition is different, they're going to look, the one with the lower body fat is going to look a lot smaller.
Exactly. And they could be the same weight.
They could be the exact same weight.
Yep.
So that brings me to, you were talking about numbers on a scale. People say, I want to get down to a certain weight. that's kind of just an arbitrary number, right? Because you could weigh the same and look different.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Yep.
It was pretty understandable in the book, which we will get to. I don't want to give too much away about the book because we want people to read it. So,
Right.
All right. So can we talk about the book now?
Yeah, this is your show. We can go anywhere you want. I'm ready.
All right. The first thing that grabbed me was in the intro that it said "Fat Kid Loves Cake." I loved it, and my suggestion is you should put that on your merch, man. I think it's I think it is hilarious.
The interesting thing about Fat Kid Loves Cake, so back it up and talking about the book, I went around for 4 or 5 years with that being the main title of the book. So the book was originally going to be called Fat Kid Loves Cake. And if you look at the cover of the book, I always had that picture, and that's my 5th grade picture. I had that as a walking ethos, so to speak. I was writing to, the name of the book was going to be Fat Kid Loves Cake. As I began to write the book and put it together, and I sent out a little feeler with some people that I trust with, what their ideas and thoughts were, I sent them a picture, and I said, what do you think about this photo and the title of the book, Fat Kid Loves Cake? And my wife, one of the first things she said was, that doesn't really tell you too much about what's going on. Like, were you a fat kid that likes cake and now you grew up and you're this great chef or baker or something? And so it just really didn't fit with the title of the book and what was inside the book. But I wanted to preserve that Fat Kid Loves Cake because I love that line from 50 Cent.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's how I start the book in the intro, Fat Kid Loves Cake.
I love it. And I already said you should put that on your merch.
Yep.
Okay. You also mentioned food deserts. That's something that we hear, but a lot of people do not understand exactly what that is. Enlighten me.
So a food desert is, for instance, in a lot of inner cities and underserved populations, there is not a reputable, healthy grocery store within, let's say, walkable distances. And so a lot of times people have to go through just unnecessary and different ways that they have to get their groceries. So an area where you can't walk and get affordable, healthy, nutritious food would be considered a desert. So a food desert, for instance, the Hill District here in Pittsburgh is just now getting another grocery store on there. So at some point before they had a grocery store up there in the Hill District would be considered a food desert because people had to go so far to get food.
Okay, for anything, if you was only within walkable distance, everything that was available to you was some highly processed, over-processed, empty calorie, nutrient missing food.
A little small convenience store with Cheetos and Doritos and
and that
soda.
Actually, when you talk about the price of food, the cost of food, that actually costs you more because they only have it in such small, limited quantities. You can't buy the big money-saving quantities that you need. Okay. One of the quotes that I got out of your book was that it is a luxury to pursue what makes you happy. It's a moral obligation to pursue what you find meaningful. What does that mean to you?
For me, I not only to live healthy and get into your size 34, 36 pants or your size 8 or 6 swimsuit or whatever your size is, it's meaningful that you not only live and survive, but to live and thrive as healthy as possible. So this has been a passion of mine for quite some time. So I have pursued and will continue to pursue all things wellness until I no longer can do that. And then you'll be coming to visit me 2 to 4, 7 to 9 at some point.
2 to 4, 7 to 9? Okay.
So it's important to me. That's I have something on my phone called Collected Thoughts, and I do a lot of reading. And so if I come across sayings or stuff, I always, like to record that. And that was one of my collected thoughts, that was 7, 8, 10 years ago that I came across that. And I thought that it was an obligation for me to pursue what I find meaningful and our health and our wellness and vitality is meaningful for me and for everybody who I come in contact with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Now, let's move on to the nonprofit that you started.
Okay.
What's it called?
The nonprofit organization is called the Community Wellness Initiative of Pittsburgh. That's the name of the
full official long
CWI.
name.
Yep.
CWI.
Correct.
So why did you start it?
I started it out of a need that I actually saw here within my for-profit business. I run my for-profit business right here at the Kingsley Association. And during a lot of my one-on-one training sessions with some of my clients, my door to my studio was open, and I would just have people kind of wander back here and stick their head in there and say, hey, what's going on back here? There's some personal training going on. Oh, okay. And one of the first things that, a lot of people would say is, I can't afford a personal trainer.
Right.
And so my mindset was, okay, how can I give back to my community? And what's the best way to give back to my community? And so while this was going on for the last 5 or 6 years, like right before the pandemic started, fortuitous, some people may say, I say that it's God inspired. One of my clients had been an organizer and a nonprofit organizer for 40 plus years. And she said, Chris, you have the ideas and the making of a nonprofit here. And she so happened to be doing the soft editing of my book. And she said, you know what? Let's think about you starting a community wellness and how you can give back to your, and I stopped it right there. I said, you said what? And she said, community wellness. I said, I think that we're on to like a name already, beginning of a name there. And so, and she happened to be here a couple times when some people had come back and looked in, and I said, you know what, I'm going to look into starting. And she actually not only mentioned it, Derek, somebody who finds something that's valuable and a moral obligation, she actually pledged to help me with funding to get it started. So not only did she mention it, she put her money behind it as well.
She was walking it, not just talking it.
She was walking it, talking it, and doing all this other stuff. So that was the beginning of the Community Wellness Initiative. How can I give back? And I'm trying to change people's mindset as, oh, I can't afford that. So what can I do?
Right.
What role can I play? Minimal to help our community.
As far as physical
health, right.
And I mean, from reading the book, there's some things in the back you can do. You don't even have to come to a facility like some state-of-the-art thing. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot of this stuff at home.
You can do it at home.
All you need is a little bit of room. You might have to move your coffee table, move a piece of furniture. But you can be active.
When I first started working for Pitt, we were part of a program called the Healthy Black Family Project. And one of the things that I mentioned in an interview here, and this is almost 20 years ago, that there's always a workout around if you take the time and think about it. You can curate your environment to make it conducive to exercise. Like you said, move your couch, maybe do a couple dips off of your couch. Weather permitting, you can go outside and go for a walk around your neighborhood. There's always a workout around and available. If this camera can kind of flip around, you would see there's resistance tubing within my studio here. You can have anchors and you can put it around your door at home, and you can do pulls and push.
Right.
So there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way. We can make it happen.
Okay. Now, where is this located at? I mean, we all know we're in the city of Pittsburgh, the beautiful Steel City.
Yep. And so my vision for Community Wellness Initiative of Pittsburgh is let me back up a little bit. So the three main pillars of Community Wellness Initiative are physical activity, nutrition, and financial literacy. So those are the three pillars that we identified as things that will make us and keep us well. Now, there's other pillars of wellness besides that. There's mental health, again, living in an area where there's not a food desert. But those were our three initial pillars that we were going to attack as far as making yourself whole. Because we all know let's say that you're at the ideal weight that you want, but your money's not right. You're not going to be physically well. And that piggybacks on Wellness Beyond Weight Loss, my book.
Exactly. That's
So
going to
that
mess
was
up
my
your
thing.
spiritual fitness and
Right.
everything else.
So everything has to be well. So let's say you have a couple pillars right. Let's say you're at your ideal weight. You have your money right. Okay. But let's say that you're, like you just said, your spiritual wellness isn't right. You're not going to be completely well. And I give a definition of what wellness looks like. And I can't remember the whole quote, but it's a couple sentences in the book. And it was from, I think, David Agus, I believe. And he was saying that if you don't have, your finances right, your mental health right, if you're not taking a daily bowel movement, I remember that was part of the quote. If you're not having, if you're not being regular in the bathroom, he went through this whole litany of stuff and there was about 8 or 9 things that he mentioned, then you're not going to be completely well. Not being happy with your current occupation. Let's say that everything's
that's horrible. That is terrible.
If you dread going to work every day,
Right.
you're not going to be well.
You're not. And everything that you buy with that money that you get from wherever you're going that you hate going is just a reminder about how much you do not like where you have to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? You would think you got these beautiful things in your home. They're just a reminder that, boy, I'm not happy with what I have to do to get this stuff.
Right. And you could be a high earner that's making a whole bunch of money and still not happy. You can be somebody who's making them up and be the happiest person in the world.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're not finding completeness in what your occupation is, then, part of that spoke, I look at, like a bike spoke. There's so many of those little spokes in there. If every spoke is not operational or working, and that wellness will, something's going to be off there.
Whoa. Say that one more time for the people in the back, bro.
If you look at wellness as a big wheel and there's all these different spokes, hopefully all of us have ridden a bike at some point in our lives. If one of those spokes is broken, that whole bike tire is not going to be working properly. You get a couple of those spokes broken, you better pull that darn bike over and get it fixed immediately, or else you're going to have a major accident. So that's how I like to look at wellness. There's a whole bunch of spokes.
All right. That's a great analogy. Now, let me ask you, do you tell me what past successes you've had with CWI? So some people that you've helped and how you've helped them.
One of my there's so many successes.
Oh, I know.
But one of them I would say,
for years.
I would say I did a class called the Energy Lab. And the word energy was an acronym for eat, nutrition, exercise, resilience, and get your money right. And so I taught this class, and there were approximately 20 people in the class. And one of the greatest successes was it almost turned into, how do I want to word this? It almost turned into where the people that came to the class took ownership of the class. And then every week somebody would bring in a recipe or bring in some food that they prepared based upon the lecture that I gave in regards to how to prepare food or, the makeup of carbohydrates. Again, staying in my lane and not getting outside of my lane. I can tell you, okay, carbohydrates, are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen.
Right.
Fats are made up of the same 3 elements, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Protein are made up of those 3 elements, and you add in one more element to make a protein, nitrogen. So
see, that was something else that I learned.
So again, carbohydrate.
Reading the book.
And so I would give all this information, and then I can give you suggestions like most people don't get, enough fiber per day. So if you're under 50 years old as a male, I think you need, again, don't quote me on this, I think you need 30 or 35.
No, I'm quoting you. Go ahead.
30 to 35 grams of fiber per day.
Okay.
50 and over, you need about 5 grams less of that. But most people don't get that much fiber in their diet.
No, because we're not, It's, okay, so I'm going to come back to that.
Okay.
You just mentioned something about diet. What are the future plans for CWI?
The future plans, interesting that you said that, as behind the scene, you saw a young lady from Lesotho that was here today, Lesotho, Africa. She just finished her master's degree at the University of Pittsburgh in clinical exercise physiology. And she is a member of the Kingsley, and she saw me working out with some of my clients. And just by happenstance, or some people would call it beshert if you were Jewish. She walks into she walks into my studio here right before the end of 2024, and she said, "Chris, I've watched you work with clients, and I'm interested in, doing a shadowing event or a shadowing experience with you." Long story short, she's from Lesotho, South Africa, and her vision is to have an exercise as medicine going back to her home country.
Yeah.
But she also said she did her research on me and Googled me for several weeks before she approached me and said, "I see that you started Community Wellness Initiative of Pittsburgh." She envisioned having a Community Wellness Initiative of Lesotho. And then that sparked a whole different conversation. So to answer your question, I started with Community Wellness Initiative of Pittsburgh, but I see it, my vision was to have it replicated around the United States. Right. Here comes a young lady from Africa.
The whole other side of the planet.
And she's basically saying, I see that coming to Lesotho. Right. And not to give away too much of what's going on.
No, don't give too much away.
She's here on a Mandela Washington fellowship.
Right.
And so part of that fellowship, they have what's called a reciprocal exchange, where a U.S. professional or healthcare provider, i.e. C. Howard Fitness, i.e. Christopher Howard, i.e. CWI, there's this reciprocal exchange program where we're putting together a protocol now where I can go back to her hometown and actually replicate what we're doing here with CWI back in Africa. So that's the plans and what I see going forward with CWI.
And now, you just said, not just, you'll be replicating, you want to replicate this in other cities in the U.S. as well. All right, that is beautiful. Let me circle back to, you was talking about nutrition.
Okay.
How much would you say your nutrition has to do with how we look, feel, and function?
If I were going to break it into percentages, I would say...
How important is it? Yeah.
Percentage-wise, I would say that's probably 65 to 75, 80% of how you function, and how you look, and how you feel. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to break it out, I'd say 70%. If you wanted to just 7 out of 10, what you eat, you are what you eat.
That goes back to that saying.
It goes all the way back to that. You really are.
To even further that, it's you are what you consume. Mm-hmm. Not just nutrition for your body. I'm talking about nutrition for your mind. So your mind is going to output. The output from your mind is going to be based off of what you put into it.
What you put in it. I'll give you, for instance, all this technology that's going around. What you're Googling, what you're consuming, what you are taking into your system. What I look at on Instagram, Facebook, Google, that program, you are creating a digital fingerprint.
Oh yeah.
And the advertisers are so smart that they will start to feed you what you're looking at. You are what you eat, not just through your mouth, but through your eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
What you take in. So yes. Right. So your nutrition, keeping it with health and wellness, your nutrition, whatever I'm eating, if I'm eating highly processed foods, if I'm eating a lot of trans fatty acids, if I'm eating a lot of, I'll give you, this is funny. This a couple of years ago, there's a corner store around the corner from here. And there was a piece of pound cake, that little slice of pound cake that you see at any quick little convenience store. I took a magic marker there and I put a little mark on it. And I said, every couple of weeks, I'm going to check and see if this piece of cake would be there if somebody took it or not. Right. I kid you not. That cake stayed on that shelf in the same condition, same color, didn't discolor or anything for more than a year, Derek. More than a year. It had the same good color, the same, like it was just freshly baked. So then my question to our listeners and people that are seeing this is, if whatever they put in that cake that kept it pristine for a year, what does your body have to do to break that down? Well, what kind of chemicals are in that food that could preserve it that long?
You know what? Maybe those chemicals are not susceptible to just oxygen. Maybe once they get into your, they're exposed to digestive acids and things like that, maybe then they start to break down. I'm just saying.
That's a good question.
You know what I mean?
For the food manufacturer, they love your answer, but
Right.
if I take something out and put it out here on the table, that a banana or an apple or whatever, it's going to go bad.
Right. If it don't start to decompose on its own, nature takes its course, so to speak.
Exactly.
Good point.
That piece of cake was on that shelf for more than a year.
For a year.
And it's still
it's staying in your body for goodness knows how long.
Yep.
Okay. Chris, I'm going to wrap this up, but what I do want to ask you is, where can somebody find C. Howard Fitness if they wanted to get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I'm on Facebook, and it's under Christopher Howard, and that's ChristopherHoward, and that's Christopher Howard. And I use my old zip code from when I grew up. It's 15690. That is the zip code of Vandergrift, PA. Shout out Vandergrift, Pennsylvania. So Christopher Howard 15690. Also on Instagram as Heavy Duty. My nickname growing up was Duty. My Aunt Marcia nicknamed me Duty, and so I kind of give a shout out to my upbringing. So Heavy Duty is my Instagram handle, and again that's Heavy Duty 15690. My website for my book and for my C. Howard Fitness is Christopher Everett, and Everett is spelled EVERETTE Howard. So it's all one word, ChristopherEverettHoward.com. That's my website. Everett is my middle name, and that middle name has, I don't know, I never got the proper reason why about 8 or 10 male people in my family have that middle name.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so that Everett name is there. So that's where I am on my website. And the book can be found on Amazon, iBooks, anywhere that you buy books. Interesting, Derek, I'm just now finishing doing the audiobook, and I'm narrating it myself at the Homewood YMCA. Shout out Homewood YMCA. We're in the process of doing the editing, so I've read through the whole book. We just have to go back and do some cleaning up.
Okay.
So the audio book is coming here within the next, let's hope, 60 days. So hopefully before springtime here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Today is January 29th. So hopefully we have it before April.
Springtime comes in beginning of July for Pittsburgh. But that's okay. The city is weird. The weather's weird, but we love her, right?
Yep.
All right. What about CWI?
CWI, our website is yourcwi.org, and that is yourcwi.org. That's where you can find us there, and all of our Instagram and Facebook connections are right within that website. You can click on there, and that'll take you right to our social media feeds.
Okay. I'll make sure that I put links to all this in the description, so when people are reading this over, they'll be able to click on it.
Yep.
It'll take them right to where they need to go to connect with you.
Yep.
And CWI, there's places where if they want to help support the organization, they can just make a one-time donation.
You can make a one-time donation, a recurring donation.
Right. Okay.
It's right there on the platform.
Yeah, this is a nonprofit.
Yes, and your gifts are tax deductible.
Yes.
So
I mean, not a nonprofit like the NFL.
Right.
The NFL is a nonprofit.
Right. We do not have I forget what they have. They have something of non-collusion or some kind of agreement that they have special. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that.
We don't. Yeah, let's not. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you for joining me, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Super proud of all your success.
Yes, thank you.
And everything, and I hope you keep it going.
Come on. Thank you. Thank you for the well wishes and blessings.
All right. We're going to wrap this up. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day.
Yep. Enjoy.